Once again, we remember the 13 people who were wounded, and we ring the bell for the 6 people who died that day. Christina Taylor Green, Dorothy Dot Morris, Judge John Roll, Phyllis Schneck, Dorwin Stoddard, and Gabrielle Zimmerman.
Like, I think every one of us, we know exactly where we were on January 8th.
Oh, 911, there's shooting at Safeway. I'm at Oracle, there's a shooting at Safeway.
When you think back of what that day was like, how from the early reports to as we got updated information throughout the course of the day of what had really happened, who was with us, who we'd lost. What's important for so many is the remembrance of not just what occurred that day, but how this community responded. Even at the Safeway that day, the people that ran towards the incident and ran towards this very difficult situation, and how the community came together.
What I realized at that moment is this didn't just happen to me and Gabby and those that were immediately involved. This happened to everybody, and people were there for their own healing.
There was some, I recall being at some early meetings where there were discussions about what might a memorial look like, where might it be.
We spent a lot of time thinking about what we wanted this to say.
The architect and designers interviewed a lot of community members as well as survivors and families of the victims, and what they picked up on was how we came together.
Everyone seemed to have had some connection to what went on. And people say, well, what's different about Tucson? Well, that tragedy illustrated what's different about Tucson. The community came together and literally embraced everyone that was involved.
So the shape of the memorial is like arms reaching around. So it reflects how the community came together in an embrace around those of us affected and around each other.
My name is Jim Tucker. I'm a survivor of the January 8th shooting, and I volunteer at Southern Arizona Heritage and Visitor Center, and I conduct tours here at the memorial. My wife and I were the couple talking to Gabby at the time the shooter opened fire. So I basically tell people, the truth of what actually happened. I give them a little bit of background, the process, and the design, and what the foundation board did as far as research.
For me, it's all of the, it's these icons. There's so many of these emblems that mean so much.
The symbols for each survivor and victim illustrate certain aspects of their life, their interests, their profession.
There's QR codes now so that people can come and understand them and reflect on each one of them.
Tucson is such a diverse community, economically, socially, politically, and it really showed how varied the crowd was who was there that morning.
It shows so much about the people who were killed, the people who were wounded, but there's so many things around there that put it in perspective of Tucson's long history too.
When you look at a courthouse built in the 1800s, this is a location, and even before that, when the indigenous people were here and meeting to confer and to have community conversation and dialogue, that's what this area has been since before we were a state, since before we were part of the United States. And now we hope it's where people continue to come and to have conversation and dialogue.
Why do people go to memorials? A lot of times it's a piece of history, but a lot of times it's for their own reflection and whatever they're dealing with in their lives. And that from the get-go was what we wanted, is a place where people would come not just to reflect about January 8th, because it may be years from now somebody from out of town will come and know nothing about it. And what I hope is they see beyond the architecture, but to the lesson of what brought that space, that community that came together.
I know when we started working on this, the first thing we did was begin to talk with other communities who have experienced this and been through it. And that was a bond in itself. And now we continue to talk to others, and other communities reach out to Tucson.
Once people see it during the day and see it again during the night, I think they will really appreciate what we have done.
It will serve as a place where people, no matter what they're struggling with, can go and just have a few minutes of reflection with the water and the quiet. I hope that history looks back on that particular moment in 2011 and the response of the community as a beacon for future generations.